was awesome.
Okay, cool. Well, I am excited to be here today with my friend Mason McCarty. He is an actor. He's also a high school student, and we met on the set of a short film recently. So, thank you for joining us, Mason.
Of course. Hi, happy to be here.
So, you're a high school senior? Is that what grade you're
I
in?
am.
Okay.
Yes. hmm
So, weird way
So,
to end your 4-year tenure in high school.
oh yeah. I mean, it's weird to think about that. Like, I had my last day of high school and I didn't even know it. So it's weird to process it like that, and especially it felt like there was a flow going on. With all of us. Like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We have counselors to talk to so that we know what to do about like college stuff coming up.
Mhm.
And now it's like we're kind of on our own, it feels like a little bit at the moment, but at the same time, we're all communicating, all seniors and all that, and we're just kind of like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what we should do. But it's just hectic, a little crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, you obviously have a lot going on outside of just high school because you and I again met on a short film set. So you do
Mhm.
acting, you do all sorts of stuff. But I could imagine after spending 4 years in high school, it would be kind of like a letdown, not being able to like finish out
Yeah.
your senior year. It would just
Oh
be
yeah.
strange, right?
Like the payoff of graduating or like having all those like senior events that was like you earned this. It's like it's gone, So yeah, it is
Sure.
a little disappointing, but yeah,
Are you guys gonna have like a virtual graduation party?
we might have to. It's really funny to think about, and like in my head, I'm like, you know what? It's kind of cool that like we're gonna be like the first graduating class that's like we did online graduation. Like that's unique, but at the same time, getting the diploma by hand instead of mail would have been awesome. So
Totally. Yeah. So you've been doing schooling online, right? Because I remember we connected like a
yeah,
week ago and you were like, I want to do the interview, but I need to figure out my online schooling. So has it
yeah.
been weird like transitioning your classes
Oh
online?
yeah. I mean, thankfully for me, I had a good counselor in high school that was like, all right, you only need to take these classes. So I only ended up taking about two or three. So I've only had like two online classes. Some people are taking like all four, and it's just like they
Mm,
feel jammed packed with everything they're doing. But no, it's been weird. And then the more Sumner County is like trying to experiment with it, they've been kind of starting to say like, it's not mandatory because they don't want you to get a lower grade than you did the 9 weeks before school got cut out. So it's kind of like nobody really knows what is the right thing to do. Is like, do we make them do online school? Like, we'd hate for them to not graduate or something because they didn't get good grades online, but they were
sure,
doing
sure.
fine at school. So I mean, it's confusing.
Yeah, or I would imagine, like, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a school teacher. She said some kids just don't learn that well online. They're much more like you. I would imagine you're much more of like an in-person
Mhm.
kind of person. So they like vibe off of being in a classroom.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel so much more engaged socially whenever there's actually a teacher in front of me, like teaching me something. And like online, I felt like there's just this lack of motivation to like complete a task before the deadline. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like, I got all this time. And it started messing with, I mean, everybody's kind of reacting the same way, is that we're starting to turn in things late because nobody is there to, you got to do this because it's the rules, you're at school. So it's just, it's such a weird change. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if it makes you feel better, I would imagine it's the same in like the corporate world as well. Even
Yeah.
me, I feel like I'm like not as on my game. Like this morning, I woke up at like noon. I haven't done that in years, and I was like, oh, I was supposed to do like a bunch of stuff last night that I just completely spaced
Oh,
out. I'm never like that. I'm usually like
yeah.
2 weeks ahead of deadline, but it's just like, yeah, no one's really watching you. So these
Yeah.
video interviews have kept me motivated. So thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've loved watching these. It's really inspiring to see that you're taking something that not many people are doing, but like, finding the positive and the truth within all this. So it's really awesome. I'm happy to be a part of it too. So
Thank you. Well, I saw that wonderful short video you made, which I really want to talk about because you're such a great young actor. And, you know, I just, anyway, I was just really impressed. One of my good friends, Taylor, who played your dad in the short film that we met on, he had showed it to me and he said, look, this is so cool. So maybe we could talk a little bit about it because I know your agency, the Avenue Agency, also reposted it as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, so it had been about a week where it was just straight quarantine, nothing was happening, and I was like, man, I mean, it was kind of weird to process. Like, I didn't believe this was going on. That I was like, I'm gonna have to be at home, stuck with my family, but just not seeing anybody for the longest time. And I was like, I love to make video. I mean, I love to act. I love to create videos. I love to write, editing. I love to edit. So I was like, I just need to find something to do. I was like, I need to come up with something. And my dad, who's a videographer, he works for
Hmm.
CBN at the
Mhm.
700 Club. So he does a lot of really awesome Christian testimonies and video productions like that. He thankfully snuck a camera home from work and just, had it in the back room. And he's like, all right, if we ever do anything, we'll pull this thing out. But he just kind of told me one day, he was like, you know what, you should write down some words that mean a lot to you and make sense to you about how you feel about all this. That, like, you had some momentum going with your senior year and what you wanted to do career wise after high school. And all of that's just been kind of paused, even kind of reset. Like, I mean, just how does that make you feel is what he was kind of telling me. And I was like, oh, wow. So I wrote a couple different drafts of me just, I tried different things like third person, just writing a character who's reacting to this, or I just write some words that was like, this sentence feels like so how I feel at the moment. And I mean, that was kind of tough to get out. Like, it was things you didn't want to think about. It was almost a little depressing to think about. It was like, wow, like this is truth. But thankfully, my dad just, I mean, it took some self-discipline and motivation to be like, all right, we're going to do this because, of course it felt like a lazy day, felt like you didn't want to do anything. But we had some words written and he's like, all right, let's just get some beautiful shots, something you can edit. And that's what we did. And we just spent a good maybe hour and a half just kind of running around the house. Like, okay, well, you know, by this paragraph, it's kind of like, this is his mindset. This is, what he's going by. So, we just kind of thought, how can we convey these emotions in imagery and you can narrate over? And that
Mhm.
was something I'd never done before. I was like, oh, it's like a silent film, but I just kind of talk over it. And then from there, we had some good footage. I recorded my voice and some words that really meant a lot to me about just life being shut down. And I was like, all right, this is kind of the perspective of any artist feeling like they're going through like a writer's block because it's just like nothing's going right for them. Like everything was, but now it's not. And it's just that disappointment. And so I made the music for it. I threw together the edit. We color graded it, and I was very happy with it. I was really worried it was going to be like a woe is me, like, oh, look at me, like all this tragedy, like, oh, I was going to graduate this year. But then I just kind of realized that, like, no matter if that's how people see that, it's how I feel, so it's like you can't say somebody, you can't tell anybody, that's not how you feel, that you're wrong for feeling the way you feel. But I was super surprised at how people reacted to it because I was like, I don't know if people are gonna have interest watching this. There's no story. There's no, cliffhanger, like, you know, something for you to go along with. But I was surprised that people found, something that I I felt true about myself and wanted to show off. People, accepted it and they liked it and they thought it was great. And then I realized how so many other people feel like they're looking for things to do, like other artists and creative people. So I was like, wow, like, that's so cool that, we're finding ways to be creative and do what we love to do at home. So, I mean, I'm so thankful that, I was able to self-discipline, took some talking from dad, but, to decide, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this time.
Oh, I just think it's cool that you and your dad collaborated. I mean, I
Oh,
love that. And you
yeah.
used what you had at home. I mean, like you said, you had the camera kind of stashed aside.
Mhm.
And in a way, I didn't think it was self-pitying at all. I thought that you represented what everyone's going through. I mean,
Mhm.
I related to it, and I'm like, 15 years older than you, I mean, which is the fact that, yes, I think a lot of people feel right now like they've built up all this momentum, whether it's for their career or a relationship or traveling or who knows, and now
Yeah.
everything is paused. And so I think it was really important that you address that, because I do think that is how everyone's feeling.
Yeah, man, thank you. And I wasn't expecting that. Like whenever I posted it, I was like, a lot of people even like texted me and was just kind of like, I was feeling this way, but I was so worried that beforehand, I was like, people are gonna be like, calm down, or something like that. But like, I mean, it was cool to see how, you know, how what something that I had created meant something to people, or it like kind of spoke about how people were feeling that people weren't speaking about, or it's just interesting to see. I guess I'd never experienced that, like, I mean, people that are doing it in the industry, of course, they get response, but like me, I'd finally created something and it was like people were like, oh wow, that was interesting, or that was cool. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Well, no, and I thought it was great too, because a lot of, the artists I've been talking to at this time, and I would say myself included a little bit, aren't feeling as creative as they thought they would, probably
Yeah.
because a lot of artistic people are actually more social than they think. So we like
Mhm.
vibe off of other people.
Oh yeah.
So, again, I mean, just the fact that you even had the discipline to make something and put it out there, I think is great. Because I think right now what's happening is a lot of people are just feeling like they have too much time and then they like stagnate. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm still struggling to find myself to get to do it again, because that self-discipline, it wasn't like it could stick around. It was like after you finish that, you almost like, of course you just want to relax. Okay, I did that. But then after a time, it's like now you're gonna want to do something again. But of course you're gonna have to, self-discipline again. So, it's so not easy. And like that first week of quarantine, I was like, I don't know what to do. You know, for some reason it was just like creativity just felt like work. And I think it was because there wasn't, people around us, like you said. But yeah,
Well, I
no,
was going to ask you, it's interesting because, like, I wonder do you think it's harder for people your age to just, like, stop? Because, I mean, and again, I think, like, you and I have, a pretty big, like, age gap between us. Like, for me, I didn't grow up with, like, this, like, nonstop instant communication sort of, like, fast-pacedness
yeah.
to my life. So I would say it's probably easier for me just to, like, slow down and read a book. But, do you think it's hard to just like turn off the noise and even be by yourself?
Yes, I do actually. I mean, especially like, and I feel like a lot of people relate to this now with social media and all that, is that you always feel like other people are hanging out without you, or they're doing something. They're having more fun with than you, doing things like that. And I feel like so there's always this in your head, at least for me at my age, is that it's like, what can I be doing? And like, I feel like I need to do something because I'm seeing other people are doing things.
Even
So I
now?
feel like,
I feel like now no
oh,
one's doing anything.
well now it's like nobody's doing anything and everyone's like,
Yeah.
gotta stay home and all that. But I mean, for school, it's been like, so I'm used to that. I'm used to like, I need to be doing something. I need to go outside or find friends. So I feel like for this time, like quarantine, it is weird that like there's not that nonstop we're doing something or doing anything. So that's been a weird adjustment.
In a way though, it's kind of cool because it like takes the pressure off. Because I mean, even
Yeah,
someone like my
yeah.
age, I feel like probably more pressure than like going out and socializing to just like be on my game,
Hmm.
as far as career stuff. Like the second I
Yeah.
finished the TED Talk, like, which was a huge feat, so many people were
Yes.
like, what are you
Which
gonna
was
do
amazing, by
next?
the way. Which was
Oh,
amazing.
you're
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate it. Well, I mean, so many people were like, what are you gonna do next? I'm like, I just finished. I'm exhausted. I could sleep for
Right?
like
Yeah.
a month, you know? And so, I mean, I know for me personally, and I'll admit it on camera, I mean, I felt like, oh God, I can finally relax. It's like I've been, you know, I'm 33. I've been working since I was like 12. It's like I can finally just like chill
Yeah.
out for a month, you know?
Right.
So do you feel like
Well,
that? Like, I mean, it's
yeah.
like less pressure.
Oh yeah. You know what? One thing I realized, it was kind of late into the quarantine, but I realized I was kind of praying that all this pressure of like college, what are you gonna do? Like like the definitive decisions of this is my plan going from here to here. I felt like everybody all had it together except for me. I was like, I know what I want to do, but I'm not sure what's the right uh, trail yet, the path.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of praying for a bit that like it would slow down, the pressure would go away, and not to say that like all this got thrown together because people were praying for a slowdown, but it was like this is a weird, odd, blessing in disguise that like this is a good time to rekindle and think and plan. And I was like, man, well, I can't ask for a better break, like I'm at home, I got everything I need, and I mean this is the time to get on your game, like you said, and expand things that you'd like to expand on and all that. So yeah.
Plus, I was thinking if I could go back and do anything, I would have had a year after high school to just like chill.
Really?
Because I
Okay.
did that in college. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I took 5 years to finish college, whereas all my friends did 4.
Hmm.
And I always tell people I'm like, best decision I ever made because I,
Really?
got to really enjoy my classes more and, worked at the same time. So I had the experience of like paying for rent and having to work at night and then get up and go to classes
Yeah.
and I think it just allowed me to figure myself out versus just having this like nonstop pressure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's interesting that it's almost like I'm about to have a really long and gated, summer. It's almost about to be like a 5 month summer. So I'm almost taking that little gap year that people, I have heard a lot of people that was like, what, one thing I would have done was uh, take a gap year before college to really, travel or just, find yourself. And I mean, that's always been an interest of mine. Is it like, I mean, what would like life look like if I had a job and I, really worked at something I wanted to work at rather than feel like I needed to go to school and do all that. So yeah.
So what's going to happen next with acting? Because I loved working with you. I think you're such a talented young actor. And I loved learning about your process because the role that you did, you had to do a lot of prep work for because you were supposed to be playing this
Hmm.
young, person who is
Yeah.
basically coming off a bunch of medication and realizing how it's affected their life. So yeah, I mean, what do you want to talk a little bit about your next steps as an actor when
Yeah.
everything resumes production?
Oh yeah. I mean, and the Alex Greeley short film that we did at Belmont was
Mhm.
that was actually my first time doing prep work for a role, and I felt like that was
Mm.
weird because I'd been acting for like a long time beforehand, but I don't think it was until fall last year, around August last year, I decided like, this has always been like a fun hobby of mine, but it was like, this is what I want to do and take seriously and get good at. And so whenever I had a couple great opportunities where it was like, okay, sweet, I'm really getting into the mindset and trying to give it my all. But then whenever Alex Greeley came around, I was like, first of all, I really liked the script. It was really tight. It was just really, had a really nice arcing story. But then I was like, what a great opportunity to look into what it's like to play a character that has really, really bad ADHD, but is constantly and possibly overdosing on it, on his medication.
Mhm.
So that was a huge lesson to learn about how to like properly research and get into that. And I mean, it's something I'll take with me for the rest of my life. And
So you want to do more like character driven
yeah,
roles or
well,
stories that have more like meaning, I guess.
mhm. Well, I think I've always admired actors that really got lost in roles, not like in a bad way, but like it's almost like they they really knew how to deliver the best they could for story. And just, for me, I'm always excited to, like, how can I help the story? Like, what is this scene going to do to move on to the next scene and the next scene? And what is my character going to do to move a character on to their motivation? So I always love that. But I think I love acting because it's like, it's fun to play pretend sometimes. It's fun I love storytelling. I love stuff like that. So I'm like, do I get into it enough? I was like, that's not overacting, as long as, you're controlling it, but like, am I in it enough? Like, I'd love to be a part of that. And so I felt like I got a good taste of that with the Alex Greeley short film. So I was like, wow, that was fun. But yeah, so after acting, I mean, not after acting, but after coronavirus gets out of the way, um, I'm hoping to look for great possibilities and opportunities, whether that would be through college or connections or trying some time out in LA or New York, who knows. It's a little blurry what the end of this year is going to look like for me, but I'm just hoping to, start using a little bit more this time at home to plan, think and figure that out. But I'd love to keep pursuing acting and see where I can get and who I can meet.